What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Marble Project. My name's Kiro, and today we're going to talk a little more about vectors, alright? So in the last video, we talked about what vectors are, in the last few videos, what vectors are, and vector addition. Now we're going to look at vector multiplication, alright? Vector multiplication. And so, there are two, and I mean, if you think about it intuitively, there isn't really an intuitive way, like an intuitive definition, but I'll try to explain it. There are two ways we really multiply vectors, and those are the dot product and the cross product. Alright? And basically, these two, they're pretty similar, but the dot product is the product of the vectors in a parallel direction, and the cross product, if you think about it, cross, is the product of the vectors in the perpendicular direction. Okay, and this doesn't really start to make sense until you see it all drawn out. So I'll have here two vectors, alright? Call this vector A, and we'll call this vector B. Okay? And we want to multiply these two, and they're connected with an angle theta. We want to multiply these two using the dot product and the cross product. Alright, and if we remember, if we look at the cross product with the perpendicular components, we can see which of these components is perpendicular to one another. Alright, so we have this angle theta, and I'll draw this a little bit bigger here. Alright, so two vectors, way bigger, theta, A, B. And we can sort of bring this down from the tip of A and project it onto here. Alright, and so we can split A into vector components like we would in the XY direction, but now we're going to split it into the B direction and the perpendicular to B direction. Alright, and if we look at this right here, this section, it's just a right triangle. We formed the right triangle because we brought this down straight down and it's perpendicular. So we know to solve a right triangle, we know that this side is A sine theta. Alright? A sine theta. And we know that this side is A cosine theta. Alright, and these two right here, that is the vector A in the B and the perpendicular to B direction. Alright, and so if you think about it, a dot product, well, if you use the perpendicular directions, you just sort of brought the vector and used only the perpendicular sides. You brought the two vectors and made them sort of in one line. But if you use the cross product and you multiply the perpendicular sides, dot product is parallel sides. If you multiply only the perpendicular sides in the cross product, what you do is you make them a cross. You only care about the sides that are going in completely opposite directions to each other. Alright? And so if we only use these two, if we only use here, actually I'll use a different color. If we only use the parallel sides for the cross product, we see that, for the dot product, we see that A, vector A, dot, vector B is equal to the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B times what? The cosine of the angle between them. Alright, because the section of A parallel to B is A cosine theta, and we just multiply that by B because that's already in that direction, so it's AB cosine theta. Now if we want the cross product that's perpendicular to each other, we can look at it the same way, alright? So we have the sections that's perpendicular, well, that's A sine theta, alright, and the magnitude of B is still the same. So A cross B is equal to the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B times the sine of the angle between them.